It's time for your number one NAIA men's basketball podcast to begin, as the Road to Muni podcast with Junior and Coach Lovers begins now.
Hello, NAIA Hoops Nation, and welcome to another week of the Road to Muni podcast. And Coach, it was a heck of a week indeed this week, as we kind of prepared you with last week, right, with the conference play opening up, but not just conference play, a lot of big-time top 25 action and non-conference action as well.
Yeah, it didn't disappoint for sure. I mean, most nights there was some really good action, especially over the weekend here, Friday, Saturday, some great games, but even earlier in the week. So yeah, phenomenal week and a lot of good hoops ahead here too as we get into Thanksgiving season and feast week and all those kinds of things. So good stuff.
Right. Yeah, right. Like this is the last big week, I guess, before we turn the page kind of into some of those. We'll have a big week of action of conference action again this week, and a few non-conference games, but a lot of league games this week, and then next week, like you said, we'll have some of those. The NEI, the show, and I know the Battle at the Beach and some of those fun classics going into the following week, and we can discuss some of those next week's show. But it's I thought we last night or I say last night, but as this shows Saturday night we did the live show for the three top 25 matchups that were on the West Coast, and I thought that for the most part all three of those were what you would expect from top 25 matchups. Arizona Christian kind of controlled that game a little bit out on against Oregon Tech, from tip to finish, but outside of that, I mean, it was still a good game, and Oregon Tech kind of closed the gap late, but the Masters College of Idaho really lived up to the hype. Both teams went on big runs throughout the entire game, and the Masters finished out with the big win, and it was a situation where I think and I think we've talked about this, Coach, that both teams got better from that game. There's probably no such thing as bad losses in that situation. I know that from a coaching standpoint, maybe you don't always agree with that, but from a bigger picture thing, I mean, College of Idaho is going to be just fine, in that situation, and still a very, very good team. But what a heck of a game from a fan standpoint, and very cool to see that gym packed in the student section. I mean, anybody that hasn't seen the Masters, they do when they have big games in there. Their student section is basically from the court all the way up to the top of the ceiling, and several sections across. So that place was rocking last night, and that's what if you're a college basketball player, that's what you want. It was really cool to see them pack that gym last night too.
Yeah, no, there was, and like you said, it's not. There's no. Obviously, when you lose, it stings, right? Especially when you lose a competitive game like that. But you want to put yourself in those moments, especially in November, December, where you're playing tournament type games that feel like tournament games, which that one, a couple of those ones you're referencing certainly did. Particularly that Masters game definitely felt like a national tournament matchup, right? Like one of those opening round site matchups. And it's there's a lot of great venues out there, and Masters is certainly one of them. And it's cool to see. It seems like more and more each year you're looking up and seeing just maybe it's tradition developing or just student engagement, whatever it might be. But there's a lot of fun gyms out there, and Masters is no doubt one of them. So and cool to see. We talked a little bit about it on the live show, but Masters and Arizona Christian with the GSAC, the way that they kind of with several teams leaving to go Division II. They've had to restructure the league a little bit, and they've had to schedule, and those two teams have not been scared to go schedule. Let me tell you, they are traveling all over the place to go play anybody and everybody. The Masters has now played number 1 Langston and number 2 College of Idaho, which is and they've played other people too, but they played like I said, anybody and everybody. Arizona Christian, if you looked at their schedule and who they're going to play as well, I mean, they're going to go out to the NEI of the show as well. I believe they have a pending matchup with Freed Hardeman coming up as well. But just cool to see some of these teams traveling all over the place and scheduling people early on as well. We still have way too many teams undefeated to name them all. There's I believe still more than 25
teams undefeated. Scheduling is not, as we said last week, it's still not everybody scheduling, tough teams, but we still
Yeah.
have plenty of teams that are very, very,
You,
scheduling. Some teams are scheduling very, very tough. Some are not, but there's still a lot of teams around.
yeah. You can only lay in the weeds for so long. There's eventually something's going to show up where you're going to have to figure out your identity and are you good enough or not. I mean, there's a few of these undefeated teams that we're not. I keep bringing it up, but as we get into Thanksgiving week, there's a few teams that have that undefeated record, and they may feel really good, but they're going to potentially get an eye-opening experience that week when they go against some of the better teams in the country, or they're going to validate that, yeah, we do got a good thing going here, right? So it's that there are some incredible matchups coming up over the next few weeks. And I know we'll focus on just this upcoming week, but that Thanksgiving week, there's going to be an opportunity for some of those undefeated teams to put themselves out there and say, hey, we're for real, or we got a little bit of work to do before February and March, right?
Well, yeah, and I think that's just kind of where you're at with everybody right now. It's just that, some teams we know quite a bit about, and there's other teams we don't know much about.
Right.
Yeah, there's just, it's not about the record. It's just about, it may be, some of it who they've played, but just ultimately it's just about, they're not in league play yet. They're maybe they've played quite a few exhibition games and they've only played. I mean, we got teams that are sitting there 1-0 or 0-1.
Right, right.
We don't know much about them right now. So, we talked to Coach Archie last on the live show, and they were a team that they played November 2nd, their first game, and then now they've played 5 games in the last 7 days. So they're just what I would call a late bloomer team that they're undefeated right now at 6-0. But they played five games in the last 7 days. So a lot of people across the country are just starting to get to know them. And I know they jumped into the top 25 in the last rankings. But they're a team that, maybe a lot of people were like, wait a minute. They, where did mobile come from? Well, because they won. They've got 2 top 25 wins right now or already, but they played a lot of games in the last several days. And you're going to start seeing that too, because you're going to start seeing teams that, somewhere down the line, these teams that have only played a few games are going to have to catch up, and you're going to see them play a lot of games in a short period of time. And, that's when we're going to start figuring out, what these teams and what their makeup is all about.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you got teams like, team like Faulkner as well, right? I mean, they're 6-0 and got a tradition for sure. And then, in a couple weeks, they're going to come up against, Arizona Christian, Florida Memorial, and they may well be undefeated going into the battle at the beach, but how you come out on the other side, and those are going to be prove-it moments for teams like that. So it's going to be that fun time of year, right, where people have enough body of work where you can say, yeah, they're kind of trending this direction. And then, with how good so many of the leagues are, there's organically a lot of really good opportunities for us to see, great matchups early on and some prove it just inside of conference play. And I know we're going to get into that here shortly, talking about the upcoming week and some of the great conference matchups coming up. But we're going to get some of that already, right? There's some undefeated teams going against each other this week, several matchups against some of the undefeateds in conference play. So
yeah, well, and I'll just mention one more that we just actually saw this past weekend too, is a Morningside team, that we saw in the tournament last year and all the way to Kansas City. They go to number 9 Concordia and got an early GPAC road win this past weekend. They lost quite a bit from last year's team, but they did return Joey Scoff and Aiden Vanderloo, 2 good scores for them, especially Joey Scoff, and maybe a team that certainly I don't want to say we overlooked them, but we didn't put them in the top 25 just because of who they returned. Or who they lost last year, and then with Joey Scoff, and then just their size, they only have 3 guys I think above 6 or that are six or taller that are playing for them, and so but Coach Miller at Morningside is doing a heck of a job, and so for us to we just wanted to see them play, see what they were going to do with their lack of size, and let me just tell you, They don't need their size. They are figuring it out. They're doing a lot of good stuff in the post, or to guard the post, and with teams that do have good post players. And for right now, they're getting it figured out. So, and they're being able to score in a lot of different ways as well. So, a team like Morningside, who's was outside the top 25, and obviously we've talked about the rankings don't matter; they're fun to talk about. But it's certainly a team that has some tradition that is making some early noise right now already. Is a team that maybe to circle to look at, and and another thing I want to point out with that game is weird scheduling. They actually play each other in a big conference. They actually play each other again in 2 weeks, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
So when you have a
Yeah.
team, usually you don't play each other for another month or even maybe towards the end of the season. They play each other again, I believe, like December 4th, which is very odd. So,
Yeah, sometimes those scheduling grids get like that, right? Where
yep.
some leagues you play somebody night one, and you play it through, and then they reverse it. So you play them night one, and then you play them in the last game of the year, and you got some of that condensed in the middle, and other leagues do it a little bit different. So the schedule matrix is typically given to the coaches in those leagues. It's not something where they really have their fingerprints on it much. So commissioners are typically generating those. So yeah, it's fun to see, and it is what it is, right? You're gonna play it out, and they're not changing it, so figure it out.
Yep. And that's good.
Joining us on the Road to Muni podcast this week is Marcus Thompson over at Our Lady of the Lake. Off to a great start here, Coach. And first off, welcome to the podcast. It's good to have you. I know you're off a long bus trip back home, but thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Jenny. I appreciate what you guys do and the exposure you bring to the table. Been following you guys for a few years now, so really excited to continue to see you guys' progress and the exposure you continue to bring to our game. And thank you for having me as a guest.
Well, before we jump into your season, I know you kind of had a unique situation, when you took over for Our Lady Lake. I know you're a former player there as well, so I know it means a lot to you to be the head coach there. But Coach Dial jumped over there to UT San Antonio when they opened up their program over there, and had an opportunity to go mid-season last year. And so this is your first full-time season for Our Lady Lake, but I know that it's not your first actual head coaching games this year, but kind of focusing in on this year. This is your first time. You got your first real head coaching recruiting in the off season, and then your first full season as head coach jumping in this year. Starting off the year at 6-0. I know we talked a little bit off camera. You guys are kind of traveling all over the place. You guys are 5-0 on the road right now. As we've mentioned, you've started all over the place. You got wins at Wayland Baptist already. You guys went over to Florida and got the top 25 win against Ave Maria. You got a tough win at Southeastern already. Went down to Xavier, got a tough win there. And then you guys, we mentioned the long road trip back home this weekend. You guys went over to Louisiana Christian, got another Red River Athletic Conference win to move yourself to 2-0. So 6-0 to start the season, Coach. First off, congratulations on that. But you want to talk about the season so far a little bit?
Yeah, thank you for that. It's definitely a great start. Last year was really crazy. I didn't coach any of the games last year. Coach Dow actually finished out all the games throughout that season, so which created an interesting dynamic. And it's throughout that whole season, finishing out, we found out he got the job in January, and he just wanted to finish out with the team, so he ended up doing that. But it created a really interesting dynamic, knowing he was going over to a cross rival and things like that. And so, jumping into this year. Really, we had some key pieces return. It's some guys that's doing really well for us this year starting out. So my recruiting just kind of had to add pieces that fit in really well to it, which I think we've done. But the guys we got, the seniors that we got are definitely doing a great job of getting us off to a good start. And helping us be battle tested on the road, fighting through adversity. Like you said, being at Raylan was super tough. So to be able to come out and find a way to win, just keep continuing to find ways to win early. We've been down big in a lot of these games, really had to kind of fight and claw our way out of some of these games. Like Wayland, we was down, 14, 15 at 3 different points in throughout that game. Southeastern, we were down 15 throughout different points of that game. And so really I'm really proud of the guys for handling adversity and finding ways to win early. And although this is my first season, obviously some of the guys are familiar with each other. They had to buy into the different style that we're playing right now, and just kind of a different message, different culture, trying to be creative. And they've done a great job with that, really buying in early, and then allowed us to have some success, right off from the start. So really happy and proud of the work we're putting in, and we just got to continue to stay hungry and keep going.
Yeah, and going back to kind of just your time as a player at Our Lady Lake, you kind of relate to some of those guys, and that correlation, you being a young cat yourself, being able to help them through some of that those struggles and probably that experience of maybe being down in some of those games and being able to relate to some of those. But you want to, obviously, your time as a player, but also just, what Our Lady of the Lake, means to you and what it means to now be the head coach there.
Yeah, it's it's a really special feeling to be able to go and play there for 4 years, all 4 years, play there, have success there as a player with some of the teams we have. And then to be able to, navigate a coaching career, to come back and be the head coach there is a really, really special feeling. Like, I love the school. I love the university. I love everything it's done for me. So for me to be able to give back both to the university and just give back to the guys in a different way, in a different role, has been a really special feeling for me. And I think it's a special place. So I'm happy that, for me to get started at this level is back home, as an alumni, feels really good. I'm really enjoying that part. And then for us to have success with it, all of it just kind of coming together for me personally, for sure.
Coach, talk about what the school means to you. You said it's a special place, right? I think we hear a lot of coaches say that. And then I like for people to hear, put some context around that. What is it about, your school and your environment that you just love and keep wanting more of? And why would it matter to some kids out there too, right, that are listening to this?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Dallas. So from Dallas, came out to San Antonio. One, I love San Antonio. I love the city. Really big city, really big melting pot. Like, I feel like whatever flavor you kind of want to find as a person, you can find in a city like San Antonio. So really just love the city. And I love the school. Obviously NAIA, small college basketball, small college field. I actually love that as I was kind of going through the process, because the relationships you build throughout a small college is just totally different than what you're going to get, at bigger universities. And so I really love the relationship aspect of the university. I love the administration and the professors. The fact that you can kind of build relationships with them, I think helps a lot with our student athletes and them being successful, both on and off the court, being able to go and speak with professors one-on-one, and then being able to have administration that can kind of step in and help in tough situations. And so I really love the support of the university. I love the small field, college feel of it. I love that I don't have to go, 45 minutes across campus. Everything is pretty much in 15 minutes in terms of walking distance and things like that. So, and the support system is different. The love that you feel is different at a small college. And so those are things I really just truly enjoy about being in a small college field, and then being at Our Lady of the Lake University. I feel like there's a lot of good people at the university that's willing to help, and it's about just about the students and their success. And then they support athletics really, really well. And so that the combination of both of those, I think, helps us out, especially in terms of recruiting and things like that, and just helps us be successful on and off the court.
Well, I have to ask you this because and before we get into some of your team here, but I'm a little worried about you because maybe your coaching philosophy's changed outside of you being a player. Because I know, you were a really good defensive player, and I believe led or maybe still have a school record for steals and all that stuff. And then I watch your games down in Florida, and you're giving up over 100 points, or you're scoring 100 points,
but man, come on,
you're giving up 103, 93. So.
Yeah, I'm definitely defensive minded. I still am, really,
You think you are?
I know, the points though.
That's funny.
I know there's some high scoring games and things like that, but an identity is still about defense. When the way we're gonna play, like if you see some of the games and things like that, we're getting like some games we get 80 shot attempts, which is like the style that we kind of want to do. So obviously in that you're gonna give up quite a few baskets and things like that. But I kid you not, our heart defense nonstop. Like that's definitely still the calling card. And I'm actually happy with the way we fly around. Like I think like some of these teams get hot and you're gonna give up something and with the way we play. So when these teams get hot and things like that, it's kind of a part of the game. It's part of the runs that we have. And fortunately with the pace, the style, and some of the players we have, we can kind of outscore some of these teams. But putting on film, I'm definitely barking about defense, nonstop. And then the pressure that we're trying to apply and things like that is a part of kind of the upbringing we played in. Like, I had a lot of success in it. Our style was pretty much kind of getting up and down, a lot of pressure and things like that. We did a lot more like zone presses and things when I was a player. And I like a little more man-to-man kind of stuff, but like the pressure and dictating is kind of what we're about and what we're trying to do. So, I preach it nonstop. That's for sure.
No, I just I had to give you a hard time on that because when I watched you guys out in Florida play, it was no, you guys do fly all over the court and it is fun to watch, but just the correlation was
don't
pretty
let
fun.
Him wear
so.
you out. Don't let him wear you out, Coach. Don't let him do that to you, man. You're 6-0, baby. You got road wins. You're 6-0. Don't let him wear you out or put water on your fire.
It is all good. It's coming with it for sure. What's crazy is like as a player in our style, like people used to say the same thing. Like we were scoring in the hundreds and things like that, but we'd also given up quite a few baskets as well. And they were like, man, I bet he doesn't care anything about defense. And in practice, that's all we were doing. It was defensive stuff. So it's just kind of like the style of play is going to allow for a high scoring game, and we want a high scoring game. So,
they can get 100 as long as you get 101, right? So it doesn't matter.
That's all that kind of matters at the end. I'm just
exactly
to enjoy the wins as we get them. Even like last night, as ugly as it is, the win is all that kind of matters, especially in these tough games. And all of them are going to be tough. All of them are going to be competitive. So it's just about finding a way to win. And that's one thing that we've done early is just continue to find a way to win. I love that we don't panic. Like we just kind of stay calm throughout the course of it. We allow the runs to happen. Players don't panic. And so those are one of the things I really love about this group is we've been able to handle composure really, really well. Anxious to see kind of, obviously, if we go 28-0, that'll be great. But the likelihood of it, statistically, obviously, it's probably not going to happen. So when we face real adversity of that first L, I'm anxious to see kind of how the team bounce back from that. Obviously, I don't want it to happen, but I know it's a part of it. So that'll be some real adversity. Obviously, we've been kind of close and had to fight and claw our way back. But I'm anxious to see kind of what that does and how the players respond to that. But I feel like we're up for the challenge.
Well, and so many of, if you look back on seasons for most teams, right, a lot of the quote-unquote success or not, it hinges on those games that are 5 points or less, right? I mean, you can look at everybody's schedule in America, and teams that are 10-20, they probably lost those games, and teams that are 20-10 probably won those games. And so you guys are off to a good start on that front. And obviously, those can go, bounce the ball one way or the other. But, you keep winning those games that are 5 points or less, and y'all are going to be, right where you want to be at the end of the year. So it's cool to get that momentum early and get those kids to feel what that feels like too. What does it feel like to win an overtime game on the road? What does it feel like to win a game by 1 or 2, right? So it's good to see. And that composure, honestly, I mean, that's a reflection where you're at too, right? As a coach, I watched a couple of your games and I've seen, you got good composure on the sidelines and are coaching those kids up. So it's cool to see, Coach. You're doing a great job.
No, well, thank you. I appreciate that for sure. And the funny part about this is I feel like there's still so much for us to clean up offensively. Offensively, like everyone early is still trying to figure out, how they're going to execute, what to look for, different looks to look for and things like that. So I feel like we're still cleaning up a lot of the little mistakes we got offensively. So I'm excited to see when it all comes together. We need to put it all together, but when it does, I'm excited to see what that looks like in terms of how we play our style defensively and how we get after it and then be able to kind of be more composed offensively and execute the way we want to down the stretch. Again, literally we finding ways to win in that. So once that continues to get better, I'm excited to see what that looks like for our team.
Yeah. And speaking of your team, I know Rob Gill's kind of your floor general out there, but you got a good trio of scorers too, and they're all senior led. You got a good senior led team. But with Powell and Rand and Law, all I believe all about 15 or right around 15 points per game out there. You guys are pretty balanced outside of that, but you got a good trio that kind of show up, every night that help out, and then you guys got good core of role players around them that and by role players I just mean guys that do their job and do what they're supposed to do and make very few mistakes around them, which is very, very good and help you win those games that are very close games. So
without question, man, I love this team. I love the depth of this team. That kind of what makes us who we are. I definitely got guys coming off the bench. I still been in waves of 5 pretty much, and so I got guys that that's easily like that second unit. I feel like could be starters for a lot of teams and programs, and so like the depth that we have is a beautiful thing. The unselfishness that we've exhibited so far and that we've shown has really, really been good in terms of our team, and so. We try to be balanced as possible, like looking at shot attempts, like, Breon, it looks like he's averaging, the most shot attempts per game, and that's where field goal attempts a game, and that's at 11. And then you got Trey at 10, and you got Lonzo at 10, and those are the top 3 guys where it's like 10 or 11 shots a game. So it's just enough on the table for everyone to kind of eat and get some of it. Obviously, those 3 guys are probably be getting the bulk of it, deservingly so. Like they're really great players, like, and all are different. Like Trey is a guy who's been here for 4 years. So he's really been a part of this process. That can he just finds buckets. Like I don't really have to draw a lot up for Trey. He just kind of finds a way to kind of get it done. In terms of our system and what we do, he great getting offensive rebounds and things like that. Breon, being on the wing, he's another one that kind of finds ways. I don't draw a lot up for these guys. Whether it's crashing on old boards or just being able to kind of take advantage of things within our offense. Like he does a really great job of just finding a way to impact the game without me just being like, call a set for him. And then Lonzo Rand is really just a bucket getter. He scores at all 3 levels really, really well. And so the combination of all those, and then Rob is a guy that's definitely more than capable of kind of getting his own bucket. And then, so we really just real well-rounded, real balanced with a lot of threats, the guys that can kind of just make plays, which was my goal in putting this team together and then adding some depth to it. I really wanted some versatility across the board in the style that we wanted to play. And then I wanted playmakers. And then the beautiful part about it is the unselfishness that they bring to the table amongst all that. It brings it all together really, really well. So, and then, winning games cover up a lot. So, like, a lot of guys aren't as unhappy with shots and all that kind of stuff, especially the ones that don't get as much, because when you're winning, it cures kind of all. And so, again, anxious to see kind of how we respond once we get that L. But I love this group, and I love our cohesion, our togetherness. I really love the chemistry that we got going on. So I'm excited to continue to see how this unfolds. I'm looking forward to it and the challenges that come as we get more film, more scouts get out there and things like that. Teams will make adjustments. And I'm excited to see kind of how we adjust and what we do with that.
Yeah, because that's part of the long season, right? Especially when you're already in league play, and you got film on you now, and you're one of 4 teams now at 2-0 in league play, and that means that people are ready to take you down, because you got a target on your back now, because people are when you start climbing league standings even early. People see you up there, and they're trying to come at you. So, Coach, it's cool to see. Always cool seeing quote unquote newer teams climbing ladders. We it's always fun to see traditional teams, the historical teams up there too. But it's cool to see fresh blood. And Our Lady Lake, I know, has had some good seasons in the past. But it's cool to see, when the Red River Athletic Conference, when you look at the standings, seeing a blue and white team with the Saints logo up there, looking up there and chasing down or not chasing down, but LSU Alexandria, who's in the top 25 right now, and you guys with RV next to your name. It's cool to see somebody new up there. So we wish you guys the best of luck as the season goes on. I know it's a long season ahead, but you guys have good heads on your shoulders, and I know that you guys will be towing the rope each way or each night out there in the gauntlet known as the Red River Athletic Conference.
Yeah. Every game is going to be tough. I expect it to be tough. Even some of the bottom half teams in our league, like all of them, you can be beat any night, literally. And that's what makes it kind of fun and challenging. Obviously makes it stressful. Like there love to be some games where I actually get to sit down, but I'm not a sit down kind of coach, so I'm usually standing the whole game pretty energetic, kind of getting after on the sideline, and things like that. Really just kind of in tune to the game. And so, I mean, this league will be fun. It'll be competitive. There'll be some games where you look up and be like, oh man, they got them. And it's gonna be kind of come across as an upset. But in this league, it's kind of like, again, if you don't come ready, like any team can kind of beat you. Again, last night, was a little example and a good eye opener for us as a team. Like again, learning while winning. Like 75-71, it was really tough down the stretch. So, really tough, competitive. Obviously, I think we put ourselves in that position with a lot of the sloppiness we had. But credit to LCU for kind of forcing that upon us. So, like I expect every game to kind of be tough. We got some tough ones up here with Texarkana, who beat Shreveport when they were at home. Jarvis just beat Shreveport. Shreveport's going through a little slump right now and things like that. So these teams are beating them though, and I got them next. So we got to come ready to play. We got to be mentally kind of locked in, focused, and ready to go. So looking forward to those.
I'll say this. I'll say this about the league too, that maybe a lot of people don't know, is that there are some of the toughest gyms maybe the entire country in that league to play in. So I don't wish that upon anybody. So good luck to you. I know that there's some of those gyms are I've seen them. They are not even it doesn't matter what those teams' records are. Those gyms are not fun to play in. So
right. Yeah, there's definitely some good home cooking, home environments in some of these places for sure that you got to kind of battle and deal with. But it's good. I mean, it creates great adversity for the guys to have to overcome. And so you're either ready for the moment or you're not, kind of thing. And then those excuses are kind of there if you want to pick them up and find them, or you go in there and find a way to win. So we need to kind of continue to have that mindset and continue to try to get it done and keep this thing rolling.
I gotta say too, son, I mean, this is just a personal comment. I got some of my favorite coaches in America are in y'all's league.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're getting on the list there, man. You and Coach Jackson and Coach Williams, and those are guys I've really gotten to know the last few years. And
oh man,
it's just fun. You guys are doing a great job, and I think that league is a lot of fun. And just the young blood head coaches and guys that are getting after it, and great gyms. And but yeah, some of my favorite coaches in America are in that league. So y'all are doing a great job. It's fun to watch you do well. So
no, those are great coaches, man. I love the way they build their programs. Coach Williams over at Xavier, I absolutely love the way that guy coaches. I love the way he builds a program. I love their style. I've had a lot of respect for him since I've come in this league. And so, when I first saw him, we had Xavier first in a conference game. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man. This first year head coach, first conference game is Xavier. Yep. I'm like, good Lord.
Y'all aren't going to score 100 in that game. I'll tell you that right now.
No.
It's going to be a rock fight, be about 48 to 43. And so.
Yeah. It was definitely scrappy early. I think he was trying to slow the game down a little bit. He subbed every chance he got, trying to slow it down and things like that. It was just like some crazy rotation. And then there was some home cooking going on there. It was clock operations every 10 seconds. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, what were we doing? So it was crazy, but it was a fun environment to be in. Fun guy to coach against. Obviously Coach Jackson at LSUA as well, doing a phenomenal job, man. And then Kashid Nat, my goodness, what a player. And so to inherit a player like that, man, that's something else. But he's doing a phenomenal job. Just a lot of respect for these guys and the way they kind of go about running their program, how they recruit, who they bring in. It's a really good job. Again, really, really fun league, really competitive league, and some great coaches in it.
Yeah, for sure.
No doubt. Well, Coach, again, appreciate you coming on and giving us your time this morning. I know it's not easy to give after a long trip you had. So appreciate you giving us time, but wish you guys best of luck, and I'm sure we'll be catching up with you here later down the year.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. And again, appreciate you guys having me. Again, continue to do what you do, man. I absolutely love that you guys are bringing so much exposure to the game and to our level. Small college basketball I think there's so many misconceptions out there about what NAIA basketball is like and what the level is like and things like that. So the more exposure you guys bring to it, the better off the game is, the more it elevates, the more it grows, the more kids are kind of looking at NAIA. When we were recruiting, it's like NCAA versus NAIA. Like they always tend to run towards the NCAA, no matter what the program is like, the school is like, or anything like that, just because they think it's, just higher levels. And so just really big misconception I feel out there. And the more we bring exposure to it, the more I think some of that stuff helps kind of clean it up, especially for recruiting. So, and just overall for the game. And so continue to do what you guys do. I love it. Look forward to seeing you guys' growth, just as a program as well. So continue to do it. Love it.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep, and as good as last week was, I anticipate another big week this week. I mean, we have a huge list of games again this week, and in particularly on Wednesday, man, there's great games every week or every day. I'll preface that, but I look at Wednesday in particular, Coach. I don't know if I have enough screens, even myself, to watch enough of these games on Wednesday. Walking through, I don't know if you have some circled on Wednesday, but already you want to talk about, and you can jump in if you want. But I look in that. No offense to the games on Monday and Tuesday, but we can jump right to Wednesday if you want.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, there's a bunch of them coming up, right? I mean, I think I think this week for the Crossroads, I'll say in general, just as a league, this week you're going to see a sorting out of those top three a little bit for sure. I mean, I think Wesleyan's got Huntington on Wednesday, and Marion's got one on Wednesday. But that Huntington OLLU game is one that catches my eye on Wednesday night for sure. And I know later in the week for that league, then Huntington's got Bethel. So I mean, they got a prove it week. I mean, they can create some separation early on here and really put a stake in the ground for who they are. So I look to this week on a whole, and I'm looking at Huntington as a team I'm really paying attention to see, how do they navigate through this week with two enormous in-conference matchups.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think that's a good call there. Rochester Christian coming off two buzzer beaters. Say two buzzer beaters. They won with 5 seconds left on Friday night, and then a true buzzer beater on Saturday. They face They're at Cornerstone on Wednesday. The coaches over there do a good job, and I think that they got a chance to do some stuff there and get off. If they can get a road win at Cornerstone, they certainly set themselves up well in the WAC as well. But yeah, looking all the way down the line, I mean, there's some great games on Wednesday all the way across the board. When you have the KCAC, the WAC, the Hart, you have the GPAC, the Crossroads League, all in action. I mean, and then when you have some big leagues like that all in action, you're certainly going to have some big games. I actually mentioned it on the live show, so I want to mention it again today, or mention it on here. On Thursday, there's a big time HBCU game, athletic conference game that I think that I want to reiterate. Philander Smith at Tougaloo. That I think is the two best teams. I think they both were the top two in the early season polls. Two teams that I believe both have made big time noise in the HBCU the last 2 years. Should be a big time game. And now that you can watch all the games on the HBCU Plus channel, if you get a chance to go watch that game, you should go watch it because those two teams you could very well see in the tournament this year. If you get a chance to watch it, and then William Woods at Central Baptist on Thursday. Woods has been playing some great preseason ball. Central Baptist had maybe one of the best games of the week last week when they went to Freed Hardeman in the rematch quarterfinal game. Certainly a good game as well too. So a lot of good games this week. I know we can't mention them all. We will have them covered throughout the week too. If you have any other games you want to mention, throw them out there.
Yeah, I mean, one other one that's really intriguing to me is the Central Christian Oklahoma City on Saturday. Both teams sitting undefeated. Oklahoma City got a win at Wayland. I mean, both those teams. I'm interested to see how they develop throughout the year. Not a couple teams we've talked about often, but both are sitting undefeated, and that'll be an interesting game on Saturday for me, and one I wanted to point out as well.
So. Yeah, and I think this is just to kind of close up shop. I think this is like what you said about Huntington. I think this is a big week for a lot of teams to kind of. Maybe not a make or break, obviously, because it's early, but it's definitely a separation, right? Like you can start getting that separation.
Well, you look at like the GPAC, for example. I think Northwestern's got both Dakota Wesleyan and Midland this week, right? So it's sitting right now. They're 2, 3, 4 in that league, but those are two great opportunities for Northwestern to sort of rise to the cream of the crop. They're already there, sort of, right? We know they're one of the better teams in that league, but you got to separate a little bit so we got chances to do that. So I know for those guys, this a big week for them as well. I put them in that same as that Huntington camp, right? I mean, you got a chance to really prove it early on here.
Yeah, not that you don't have time to make up those games, but certainly if you can get yourself a game or two ahead, especially if you can get sneak a road win early, those games certainly help out down the road because if you end up faltering down the road, you've already got gain one early. So this is just kind of a fun time of year just because if you can sneak a game or two early and you give yourself some room down the road, if something happens. So. Certainly looking at this and going into, Thanksgiving break here all the way between now and Thanksgiving, minds start wandering, the gravy, everybody's minds on turkey and gravy and start to focus in on different things. So, certainly some things to watch. We'll keep everybody in tune all the way through the week. So, make sure you're following us on all the social channels and then the website will have some stuff as well. I know you'll be following a lot of good games as well, and look forward to seeing everybody next week. Until then, it's